say I know a lot of you are very much into health and healing and know a lot about what I'm going to be speaking on. And where other people, this is going to be a little overwhelming. So there's a wide range of people here, so I want to try to accommodate everyone. What I want to say to people who, a lot of the things I say may be things that you can be teaching. That's the whole point. We all need to be teaching because there's a lot of illumination that needs to happen. That's why I'm wearing my yellow today. It's the only yellow thing I own, actually. Saved it for today. Got it for today. We need to be teaching people because we see people everywhere all the time, especially in the supermarket. It just breaks my heart. You see people who can't even walk because they're in one of those wheelchair shopping carts, right? And they're going around the store, and you look what's in their shopping cart, and it's just appalling. And they have very little idea of why they're in the state they're in and what to do about it. Or maybe they just don't care. I don't know. But for those that do care and do want to change, we have some very valuable information that I'm going to try to cover today briefly, but enough to give you some empowerment. Okay, so the first part of my talk is called Transitioning to a Better Diet. So I specifically use the word better because it's really important that everybody honor where they're at. Don't try to go from eating donuts and coffee and Taco Bell and et cetera to, an Anthony Williams kind of a diet, which we'll talk about in a minute. Don't do that to yourself. It's a gradual transition, planning, seeing what you can do, reducing the bad foods little by little, replacing them with healthier foods. Okay, so I just want to put that out there that I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, my diet's terrible, how would I ever get to that? The key is little by little. I'll give you some clues on how to do that. So some very exciting things that happened recently. So like I said, God's been kind of baking me. I've been giving talks for years, but I was kind of waiting, feeling like it wasn't quite the time to come out with information. Thank you, Ray. Because it's very important that the information that I teach people is the correct information. Okay, so now I understand because in my first big conference, Mount Shasta was my first conference, but my first conference outside in Maui with the Heart Center, Ray came up to me. This was a defining moment. Ray, who I've known for many, many years, he and Terry, he came up to me with this book, and he goes, "This book is going to change your life." And I'm thinking, yeah, yet another book, another one of those things. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I kind of didn't put. Then in the car with Mona for 3 hours, with David driving too. It's a long drive, the road to Hana, whatnot, in Maui. Mona starts telling me about the book. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to really listen about this book. So long story, I was intrigued she told me a little bit more. So I was intrigued, and so I got the book and I read it. And I am, if Anthony Williams is ever going to hear this, I am one of probably a small percentage of practitioners who is willing to understand that what I was taught and what I was teaching people was not the best way to eat. I just want to say that, and I tell this to my patients all the time, it's obvious, but I still like to say the reason why do we need to care about our body and take care of our body? So we can live our purpose, we can live in joy. Our birthright is to feel good, right, and function every day optimally and be able to fulfill our purpose in life. So that, right? I mean, why should we have to have all kinds of problems? So what we put in our body is extremely important, obviously. We need your vessels to be vessels of light. If, our bodies are a temple, the same way you wouldn't sit in a temple somewhere and eat a bunch of junk food, right? You just wouldn't do that. It's so disrespectful. Okay, you might sit in there and eat an apple. So same thing, our bodies are temples, and we should not be putting junk into our body. The beautiful thing about our bodies is that it's constantly regenerating, and the better we treat our bodies and the better we eat, the better we want to eat. It's quite a blessing that really you can, for instance, kick eating sugar by, first of all, transitioning to fruit and things like that. But when you don't give your body refined sugar, the cookies, cakes, and ice cream and all that sorts of things that I know everybody eats all the time, when you don't eat those things for a little while, you end up not wanting them. And I'm witness to that constantly in my practice by patients who were suffering with all sorts of things. They start changing their diet, and they start feeling so much better. And it's quite a miracle to witness that. And some of my patients are just practically in tears because the specialist couldn't answer their problems, this and that. They change their diet. Yeah, I work with supplements and whatnot. And they start feeling better, and they start living life again and enjoying their grandchildren. So those little ones that need their attention, a lot of people's motivation for getting healthy is, I want to be able to play with my grandkids, right? They don't want to be old and in an assisted living center, because that's not too fun. So this is a phenomenal book called The Yoga of Nutrition by Omran. And I want to just give you an idea. Number one in my list is the importance of increasing awareness, okay? So that's number one. You need to realize what you're doing and how it's affecting your life. So this is what Omran wrote. One day, one of my disciples, who is a doctor, had a telephone call from a woman whose husband was in bed with an acute bilious attack. Do you think it could be caused by something he ate, she asked. We went to a wedding reception the day before. Ah, said the doctor, and what did you eat? Well, I didn't eat much myself because I wasn't hungry, but my husband has a good appetite and he ate well. Whereupon she started to describe the menu. It was something unbelievable. Sausage, salami, ham, pate, melon, sweetbreads with mussels, trout with almonds, rabbit with prunes, cheese, ice cream, cake, cookies, fruit, various wines, champagne, coffee, and liqueurs. Wow. And then she says, do you think any of that could have been bad for him? Asked his wife. It's like, I mean, this is pretty extreme, but you get the point. A lot of people never make the connection between what they eat and the state of their health. And yet the food we eat is the material from which we build our bodies. Okay, we have like 6 trillion cells. They need real food. So you must not think that you can consume whatever you like and expect to be always in perfect health and as fit as a fiddle. You have to understand that there is a direct connection between what you eat and how you feel afterwards. If you gorge on all kinds of different materials, that will simply clutter your organism, which will be unable to get rid of them, and in one way or another, you will end up being ill. You must always be careful about what you allow to enter your body. So this is a phenomenal book. And so sometimes it takes a while for people to realize the connection between what they eat and how they feel. You know, I've been married to my husband for 31 years, and years ago I used to say, oh yeah, I ate that, I don't feel so good. And he'd be like, what? Like he didn't even understand the concept. And now if I ask him if he wants dinner, he'll look at the clock. No, it's too late. I won't feel good. So, you know, the point is over time people do get more connected to what they eat. So number one, you absolutely need to increase awareness. The best way to do that is actually to write down what you're eating. So I have all my patients do this. We have a journal, but you can write it on any piece of paper. Write down everything you put in your mouth every day, and that increases your awareness of what you're eating. It's very, very transforming to do that. It helps to have accountability and show it to someone like myself as well. But I do recommend you find somebody you can work with in your area. Okay. Number two, so I'm going from transitioning to a better diet, you know, to, I wanted to come up with kind of top 10 things, okay? So increasing awareness is number one. Number two, what you drink is so important. So we all know water is really important, and I wanted to show you, when I travel, I bring a filtered water bottle. Now I have an awesome daughter who found this online for me. So put the water in the top, it filters through the bottom. When I drink, I'm drinking filtered water. You can go online and find all kinds of wonderful filtered bottles. You don't need to go through the airport and spend $7 on a bottle of water that's been sitting in plastic, okay? Right? Okay, so have water with you, okay? And, you know, drinking water is quite the art. We actually should be sipping on water all throughout the day. Our body can only absorb about a quarter of a cup at a time. So we really need to sip on water all throughout the day. Okay, so that's very, very important. Have water with you wherever you go. At your desk, at work, at home, just make it a point to have water there. Have a glass bottle so you can refill your mug, etc. Be sure to have water. It's extremely important. I once read the number one cause of afternoon fatigue is dehydration, not enough water. Okay, it can really cause a lot of problems. So if you think you're tired, if you feel tired, drink a glass of water. Okay, excuse me. The other thing is, it's better to drink your water before or between meals. You don't want to drink much water while you're eating. It dilutes the enzymes and interferes with digestion. If you want to drink a little bit, sip a little bit, but I'd say no more than 6 ounces of water. So if you're thirsty, drink water first and then eat. So you get the idea. Okay. All right, and drink, I recommend just regular basic filtered water. Okay, we're not going to go into details, but a lot of the other waters I don't think, and I've read, are not really good for you. Distilled, reverse osmosis, all this stuff takes out all the minerals. Just get a good filter, okay? Number 3, again, quite obvious, but we all need to be reminded. Our breath, deep breathing, and exercise. Find some exercise that you enjoy. Do not do something that you don't enjoy. I love going out for walks outside. I live in Oregon. Oftentimes it's raining. I just put on my raincoat and I go for a walk, okay? So do whatever you enjoy, but exercising every day or at least a few times a week, stretches, yoga, really wonderful and very, very transforming, okay? Our bodies all age, and so we need to keep them moving. Okay, so it's very, very important. Okay, number 4. This is a biggie. We're just going to touch on it. Do your best to avoid toxins. Okay, so you may not think of it, but there's toxins everywhere we can avoid. So do your best to avoid toxins. So heavy metals, cookware, amalgams, fillings. Don't let dentists put anything in your mouth that's not white. Okay, don't get metal fillings in your mouth. It's very, very toxic. Vaccines have mercury. Now they took out the mercury. They're putting aluminum. So people are going to get a combination of metals. Just, it's kind of disastrous, okay? Pesticides have heavy metals in them. So eat organic as much as you can. Don't use deodorant with aluminum. Avoid chemicals like perfume, plastics, chlorine, fluoride, EMFs, have your organites around, etc. So there's a lot of toxins that you can minimize toxins. Okay, I don't use anything with fragrances or anything. I use very, very pure, basic stuff. Okay, I always tell my patients, you smell lovely. You don't need to pour all that toxic perfume on your body, right? So just be natural. Okay. The next few items actually all have to do with diet, because that's my big focus. Okay, so number 1, you need to know what is truth and what path you should follow, because it's very, very, very confusing out there. Okay, so I've been in holistic health for 30 years. I've been involved heavily with nutrition for a good 15 years, and I have followed some different ways that are not that great. Like the high protein diet. A lot of people think high protein. A lot of my colleagues are doing that keto diet and all that stuff. In a nutshell, I'm going to tell you, you feel better for a little, you shouldn't do it, but you feel better for a little while, and you lose weight and you have energy, so you think it's great. And when things start going sour months or years down the road, you don't think it's the diet because you felt so good doing that. It must be something wrong with your body. That's what happened to me. So I had lost weight, got more energy, and then after a few years of doing that, because that was my training, I gained my weight back and I wasn't feeling very good. So recently, with Anthony Williams' guidance, I started eating a lot better. I started eating a lot more fruit. I tolerated eating fruit because I stopped eating so much meat and fat. I reduced my meat. I stopped eating butter. Only because I stopped doing that was my body able to tolerate fruit. I don't know if you've ever, I feel terrible when I eat fruit, right? Well, I used to not really be able to eat fruit. Number 1, I think I was brainwashed to think it was bad for, too much sugar, right? So people avoid fruit, but then they eat ice cream. So it's like really ridiculous. But because I wasn't doing that, but I was eating too much fat and too much meat. And now I understand it was creating a burden to my liver. And then when I ate fruit, my body tried to detox, and then I thought the fruit was making me feel bad. So fast forward, I gradually reduced all that, and I started eating lots of fruit. And within 3 weeks of doing that, I lost 10 pounds. I was like, whoa. I actually asked my husband if the scale was broken, because I wasn't trying. I really did, because I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was just shifting my eating, and my body went, thank you very much, boom. So, I'm the baker, because everything that I teach people to do, I do, and my body's kind of been like a little laboratory. I'm very, very sensitive, which has been a blessing. I'm using it as a blessing, right? Okay. All right, so... Okay, let me stop for a minute and ask, how many people have heard of Anthony William and his medical medium books. Awesome. So actually, most everybody, it looks like. How many of you that had your hands up? Leave your hand up if you've read at least the first 3 books. Parts of them. Okay, good. Parts of them. Okay. Yeah, I read the 3 of them. I got my liver rescue a few weeks ago and haven't had time to read it. Okay. I don't want to forget to tell you all, sign up for his email list. Okay, because you practically get to read the books in the emails, and he has a radio show every week. He has blogs. He has Facebook. He has Instagram. He does all of this, and he does everything for free. So he really is a messenger, like David said. And I've talked to him for half an hour. I got to talk to him on the phone. I joined his practitioner group, and he's a phenomenal human being, and he's very, very loving. And he also wants to meet you where you're at and just help you get a little bit better. Okay, so I am going to talk about those books a little bit when I'm done, but I want to get through this list. Yeah. All right. So discerning the popular fads. One of the fads now, so you're all familiar with the paleo, low carb, and all that. There's another one now. So there's a doctor going around telling you all about lectins, and that lectins are really bad. This is another one. It's getting people to not eat tomatoes. We don't need to go into it. This information, Anthony Williams said too, this is not good because tomatoes are one of the most healing foods. And so the nightshades and the lectins and the potatoes, I tell my patients, eat all those foods. They're like, they get so excited they could eat fruit and potatoes, right? And so like instead of your bacon, you can have potatoes, or instead of your eggs, you get, and they're very excited because their souls know this is going to really nourish them. So don't fall prey to all these people that are online. They're selling books. They're doing all this stuff. Maybe they think it's right, and a lot of people benefit because much of what they're saying is good. He's telling people to avoid the GMOs and corns and whatnot. So if you cut out a lot of the bad food, it's going to feel like everything, you should follow everything he says. But tomatoes and potatoes and all that stuff is actually very, very good for you. So don't fall prey to that. I do have handouts for you. They're out of the back, top foods. It all comes from his books. So what we've done, actually what my daughter has done, so thank you, Jamie, is she's pulled out from the books just by really going to the indexes or whatever, foods that heal the body. Okay? And we have them in different categories. Foods for your immune system, foods for your respiratory system, you'll see out there. We have a full handout on foods to avoid and why. It's all information from Anthony William himself. Okay? I also have a sheet on snacks for adrenal fatigue. So if any of you are familiar with those, he talks about the importance of combining a fruit, a vegetable, and then usually like a date, fruits and vegetables basically. Like the first one is apple, celery, and dates. And it tastes delicious together, and it's so refreshing. And, it's just so rejuvenating to eat things like that every few hours. So all that's on the back there for you to pick up on your way out to lunch. Yeah. Okay, so those are the foods and most people know, refined sugar, processed foods, and the list is dairy, corn, wheat, eggs, and canola oil is not good to put in the human body. It's caused me a lot of problems years ago, and canola oil is really bad. Okay, fruits. So David touched on this a little bit, which was great. Fruits and vegetables are sunlight. Okay, in his book, Omram said, fruits are letters from God. This is what he said in here. It's actually God sending us his energy and his light, her light and love, and putting it into the food. And Omran also talks about making mealtime and eating a meditation. So oftentimes we're busy, we may not get time to meditate. We usually make time to eat 3 times a day. Some people don't. I don't understand how they don't eat, but me, I make time to eat at least 3 times a day. Okay? So sitting, eating, use it as a time to meditate while you're eating. Be as quiet as you can be. Chew your food. Think about, hopefully you're eating fresh foods. Think about the energy that it's taken to make that food. The sun and the light and the bees and the soil and all that goes, Mother Earth. And really meditate on that and how it's infusing your body with light. It's a really beautiful way to meditate. So that's why he named, I think it's HRE yoga, is the yoga of nutrition. Is according to Omran. It's pretty cool. I recommend this book. It's phenomenal. Okay, so fruits, veggies, we talked about that. A really great thing that actually the medical medium Anthony William told me directly, which was so helpful for me, he said it's not necessarily that protein is bad. Okay, you may want to eat less. Now his liver rescue book talks about how much fat is in protein. Even if it's lean protein, there's still a lot of fat. Nuts and seeds still have a lot of fat, and fat holds toxins. And so if we really want to do a cleanse, we really want to stay away from fats, especially the first 4 hours of the day. And that really has made me feel clearer. I've been doing that part of it, and he talks about it in his new book. What he said is that, okay, if you want to eat a little bit of meat at dinner time, if that you feel better, get the better quality, of course, grass-fed, organic, etc. Same with your fruits and vegetables, organic. David touched on that, so that's obvious. He said what the deal is that, this is Anthony William again, when people are eating protein at every meal, which a lot of people think, I got to eat my protein at every meal, they're not eating very many vegetables and fruit because protein is so dense in calories and fills us up that there's just so much food for most of us, there's just so much food we can put in our body. What I found is that when I set the meat aside and stopped eating it, I was eating so many more veggies, like a giant plate, and feeling great and losing weight and having more energy and etc. So I thought that was such an important point that he made when I was talking to him about this dilemma of my practice. Oh, I've been telling people to eat protein at every... He says, okay, but this is the deal. They're not eating enough vegetables. And I knew that because I look at what people are eating. And now, they just eating meat, a little piece of broccoli, so you get the point. You want to fill up your plate with lots. There's just so much you could eat. Okay, so number 9 is the willingness to make changes. You need to be willing. And here's the thing, talking about our loved ones who we see not being on the spiritual path, and how can we help them to love God and resonate with us, with our spiritual path. Well, we pray for them and whatnot. We're not going to, that's what we learned today. Same thing with eating. It really is not very kind to just be nagging your family members, and I've been guilty of doing this. You shouldn't be eating that. It's not very good for you, blah, 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 right? So we want to be loving and kind. We want to lead by example and just say, oh, would you like some of my apple? Or, hey, do you want to have this instead? Or something, So in a kind way, little by little, just making suggestions of what they could eat. In summary, I want to just let you know to apply the truths. Okay, I would be doing a disservice if I didn't take a moment. Okay, introduction book. Okay, this tells the backstory. It's really, really important to read the story because Anthony Williams does not have an MD next to his name, which is probably a blessing that he doesn't, because he wasn't brainwashed into thinking, that way of thinking. Okay, 4 years old, compassion, a spirit of compassion came to him, and it's really important to read the story. I carry these books in my office, and they're constantly being sold. Right? People are really gravitating towards these books. It's important to understand, how does he know this information? How does he get this information? This is the backstory with a lot of basic information. Okay? Oh, where is the camera? Okay. Oh, I see. Sorry about that. Life-changing foods. This book is phenomenal. Okay? I'm just going to do a real quick on each book. This book goes through every food. Okay, every single food, and it gives not only the benefits of the food, sorry, go back. Okay, grapes. It gives the benefits of the foods, what symptoms it might help if you eat a lot of this food, the emotional support, and the spiritual lesson of each food. Nobody has ever done anything close to this, okay? It's phenomenal. And then recipe tips about it and recipes, okay? The back of each of these books is a recipe book. I heard him say on a webinar he's not going to put out, the plan right now is not to put out a separate recipe book. He doesn't want people to have to buy yet another book. The back of every single book is our beautiful recipes, and they're all free online as well, with videos, okay, of how to make. Videos of how to make the food. By the way, in case you don't know, most of you probably know, celery juice is his #1 healing food that he talks about. You juice celery. I love celery, and I really think it's delicious to drink it. There is a new website called celeryjuice.com. It just came out. Well, he produced, I just got an email from him, and you should all be getting his emails, where he said we now have a website specifically for celery juice. So you can read all about how to make it, why to make it, when to make it, how to drink it, et cetera, et cetera. The best juicers, everything, okay? Thyroid healing book. Okay, so I did do a talk called Thyroid Healing. It's on YouTube, so you're welcome to watch that after, this book. So really important, talks about Hashimoto's, autoimmune. He completely debunks the whole autoimmune concept. Our bodies don't attack themselves, okay, and talks about all the viruses hiding in our body. And these are the things that I work with in my practice, finding viruses, heavy metals, toxins, and figuring out how to help people get them out of their body. So I find them all the time, and then when we clear them out of the body or start decreasing the burden of viruses or heavy metals, what do you know? People start feeling better, okay? And then it makes it easier for them to eat better because they're feeling better. It's this self-perpetuating cycle. Okay, and then liver rescue with the apple on the front. My logo is an apple. I'm very excited about the apple on the front. Anthony said it took him a year to write this book. He hardly slept at all. So yeah, he'd sleep for a couple hours, get up, write some more, and his life is totally devoted to helping. So this is the new book. It's thicker than all the other ones, and it's a phenomenal book. It's very, very important for our spiritual growth to be taking care of our bodies and living our life to its fullest and feeling awesome every day. So here's to your health. Thank you for listening.